Hi. How are you? I hope you are doing well. The School of Enchantment. We've all heard about it, especially if you play a spellcaster. You probably have a few spells in the repertoire of your spell book, or list, or deep sea scroll. And if you're not too actually familiarized with the School of Enchantment in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, the majority of the spells revolve around buffing, debuffing, and mind control. I always found it particularly odd that enchantment, of all things, was the school they dedicated to mind controlling people with spells such as charm person, dominate person, feeble mind. Why is... With all these mind control spells, you'd really think at this point this is just the School of Magic for psychopaths, which I'm pretty sure it just is. The School of Enchantment is thematically very cool, actually. Many of the spells do revolve around doing strange things to help your teammates in a enchanting sort of light. But then the entire other section of enchantment spells does revolve, like I said, around mind control and other strange things, usually involving psychic damage or something to do with the mind. In some ways, this does actually make sense when you think about it, because when you charm a person in real life and not using magic, it's a common term to say, oh, that person was enchanting, which charm person is kind of the same as like, oh, you're charming the person, you're enchanting the person. Which, yes, I guess that makes sense, but when you think of enchanting, you're often thinking of, I'm going to put fire on my cool sword, not Roswell was real. You believe Roswell happened. There are aliens at Area 51. There are UFOs. The CIA is... You get the point, right? You get the point where I'm going with this. Enchanting is even arguably more evil than necromancy, which is saying something, because necromancy is the, oh, this is the evil magic school. This is the classic skeleton zombie, I'm a bad guy, woo, thing. But no, enchantment is arguably the most dangerous school of magic when you think about it. Being able to control just about anyone, or eventually later on anything, is like that's power. That is just power. You can't put it any other way. And while we're on the topic of power, let's see if you can get this right. Here, let's play a little bit of Jeopardy right here. Out of these four options, which one of them is not in the School of Enchantment? I'll give you a little bit. See, did you guess it right? I didn't at first. Power word kill is actually in School of Enchantment for some reason, and this one is not. For some reason it's not. There does seem to be some conflicting ideas about what spell should be in what school, because again, this spell, haste, is you are putting a buff on a teammate. You are enchanting them with magic, but it's not enchantment? But for some reason, bless is enchantment. The School of Magic has always just been confusing to me in many ways. It's a very strange school, which leads me to the crux of this video, the main point I'm even ranting about the School of Enchantment in the first place. Player agency. Or specifically, when the Dungeon Master is using the School of Enchantment against you, the player. Imagine this. You're playing a fighter, barbarian, or even paladin. It doesn't actually matter what you're playing, but you are in a fight. You're in a tense fight against an arc wizard or arc mage or whatever. And you have your entire next turn planned out. But, oh, what's that? You failed the saving throw? You failed it? I guess you don't get your turn now. In fact, you have to spend your turn doing whatever someone else says. Now, the common retort to this problem is, oh, well, you should have prepared for this. Okay, if you're a sensible person, you know why that argument is not a good argument. You can't prepare for everything in D&D. You only get to prepare, for example, so many spells per day. You can only carry so many items, unless you have a bag of holding, but we're ignoring that for now because you might not even get that item to begin with. But you can't prepare for every scenario, that's just a given. And yes, you can break charms, for example, by just smacking your teammate, but in more tense situations, again, that might not be possible. You might be separated, or there's just too much going on to break the charm. So essentially, having your turns for the next however long, worst case scenario, the entire combat, and best case scenario, only one turn, not being able to do what you want to do just kind of feels not good. I personally have a small story where I was once charmed, my artificer was once charmed for like 8 rounds of combat because every single time he did the saving throw, it would just be a lower and lower and lower number by factors of 2, funny enough, because he failed on a 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, and I think that's where it ended, or I got a 3 after that. But it was very funny afterwards. It was not fun during the moment. And the weird thing about the School of Enchantment and being able to control people is it's basically the only school of magic to do this very often and in very absolute ways. You have transmutation, which, polymorph, you turn someone into a rat, but at least the turn in some ways is still yours. You're not forced to go kill your teammates just because that's what the villain wants you to do. And while enchantment does open a lot of cool narrative roads, I don't think from a purely gameplay perspective it's very fun to deal with. Many of the spells, I realize, mainly revolve around things like hold person, charm person, dominate person, and if you're in the weird niche thing where you're playing a race that's considered a monster, dominate monster, what have you. It just feels a little unfair, especially to the receiving end. Even if you are the DM and a player, charms one of your NPCs, it might be, in a way, just uncomfortable to deal with, because you're not exactly sure where that's gonna go at that point. You might have had something planned, but even from a DM perspective, having your very important NPC suddenly become mind controlled and do whatever the player says can lead to some, while be it very funny moments, also some very awkward and hard to deal with situations. Now, am I saying the School of Enchantment, especially the more mind control spell, should be dealt with in any way? No, not particularly. The point here is I just think that when you do use them, you should use them responsibly. They have a lot of power behind them, and so using them, it's great power comes with great responsibility. Because if you are the DM, having a NPC cast it on a player, you might not want to put a player in a actually just uncomfortable situation with their character, because then that's just not going to be fun for them. And the player should be mindful of where they're putting your NPCs. If it's just physically just not comfortable for you, just beyond even just a gameplay perspective, they should be aware of that too. It is a very precarious school of magic, and it does have a lot of interesting implications, but it is something that should be moderated, I suppose. Another spell, which doesn't really fit into the whole mind control bit, is Feeble Mind. If you're not familiar with Feeble Mind is a spell that, if you fail the saving throw, that creature that you casted it on or are getting casted upon too, lowers your intelligence and charisma to 0, or technically 1, but it basically makes you brain dead. And while, yes, it is a very high level spell and does warrant that sort of power, again, it is a spell. One of those spells. So if it's used against you, the player, it can often feel, again, unfair or just not fun if you spend the next several sessions literally not being able to talk or interact or basically anything. And if you are a DM, I recommend, if you are going to use this spell against your players, that you only use it against your players if they know or can figure out, kind of quickly, there is a way to reverse its effects. Perhaps there's a town cleric or priest that can assist the party in reversing the spell's effects, or there is a cleric in the party already who can do the same. Albeit, maybe they have to take a long rest first to do so. It's especially effective on spellcasting characters, given that many of them either cast from charisma or intelligence, and dropping those to 0 is not fun. It is not fun. If you are a great, powerful wizard, but suddenly you can't do your entire class for who knows how long, again, not going to be fun. So, to sum it up, really, School of Enchantment is a very, very powerful school of magic, allowing you to control the battlefield and apply some buffs and debuffs to both friend and foe alike. But it is a very powerful and dangerous school of magic to use, especially frequently. And especially against your players if you are the dungeon master. This was a very ranty video, I realize, but I wanted to experiment with different formats because many of my videos so far have been kind of list format videos, and I thought just rattling off some of my opinions on the schools of magic would be fun. And I think a lot of people share the sentiment, and if you have any disagreements or solutions or anything, I would like to hear them in the comments. I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope it was insightful. I hope you got something out of it, no matter how you viewed the video. Adios.